Hello and welcome to Old Brother, a podcast about Manchester/Salford's legendary musical institution, The Fall. Each week we invite on your guests to chat about their memories and interactions with the group. You can find us on Spotify and Apple and all the usual suspects, but we're hosted at shows.acast.com/OH-brother. To kick off Series 4, we're honoured to speak to author, columnist, broadcaster and proper sports legend, Mr. Pat Nevin, often described as the first post-punk footballer. I think you'll enjoy this one. Right, here we are. Series, hang on, I should have checked this really. I've fallen at the first little series. 4, Stephen?
4, yeah.
4 series. How the hell did we stretch this out to 4 series?
I'm amazed we're still getting people.
I know. I mean, we're getting better guests all the time, as you'll hear in a moment.
Now.
Yeah. So, right then, without further ado, welcome to episode 1, season 4 of Old Brother. We're delighted today. I'm back to delighted. I keep saying delighted, but I am genuinely delighted today. I mean, honoured would be a better word than delighted.
Yes.
To welcome our guest today, the legend, that is Mr. Pat Nevin. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
By the way, to answer your question, how you've managed to stretch this out for 4 series, well, I'd suggest 30-odd studio albums, nearly 60 live albums, compilation albums. There's quite a lot to cover, man.
That's a good point. Yeah. We've come from a band that can stretch things out to the nth degree, yeah.
We made them 3 notes work.
Yeah, and I've also not forgetting offshoots, etc. So yeah, there's plenty to chat about.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know you had 3, Steve. I thought you only had 2 notes.
Yeah.
When did you learn the third one?
Last night. That showed me.
Right, okay. Right, so let's get started. So we go right. I've read your book. Really enjoyed your book, Pat. Your life story. And one thing that struck me early on is you've got a pretty similar life to we had, really. Born in the centre, working class, and moved out to like a better sort of council estate. That's exactly what happened to us. We were in the centre of Manchester, and then we moved out to Wythenshawe, which a lot of people talk about as rough, but for us, with a garden and everything, and bedroom each, it was amazing.
Yeah, I think of Barlanark as posh next to Easterhouse where I started, and it's only across one major road, and you can walk from the old house to a new house in about 10 minutes. But yeah, just any sort of little change, as you say, garden, a little bit more space, all that sort of stuff, because we had a big family, Catholic family and all that sort of stuff. So it's really good because people kind of look down as if to say, "Oh, what a horrible, terrible start." And I thought, "What? Don't tell rubbish." Yeah. I loved it. I absolutely loved the kind of start that we had in life because, just because you're born into a certain area, it shouldn't shape everything about you. It certainly should shape some things about you and give you some ideas, but it shouldn't constrict you in your thinking. So, I loved, and it's amazing over the years. I mean, I've got lots of friends that come from lots of different places and countries, but you don't have to gravitate to people that come from similar backgrounds as yourself, whether you want to or not.
That's true, yeah.
I mean, even the Catholic thing, you can stop going to church or anything else, but I'm still a Catholic somewhere in there.
Yeah, I've been trying to beat it out of myself. Well, careful how you use that. If you're a Catholic.
But I think my mum had a similar relationship with the church as you did. Like making the priest tea and all that, and cleaning the church, and she was never out of the place.
She tried to beat it into us.
Plenty of that as well. So yeah, there was all that background as well, but certainly we looked ourselves more as Celtic with a heart,
right?
Because that was kind of, those people were people who like to sing, who like to, be artistic, be creative. That was certainly the Celtic attitude. So, my family thought themselves as much Irish as Scottish, and because of that, you didn't have that kind of the kind of northern Protestantism of the kind of slightly po-faced version of Protestantism, which we didn't go for at all.
No,
that was really confusing.
What always amazes me, I work with people, they work with English people, and they don't really get the sectarianism in Glasgow and in Scotland.
No.
They know it exists, but I don't think they realise just how sort of big it was, or maybe even still is. I don't know. You could speak to that better than I could.
Oh, is the word. And oddly enough, as we speak, I'm going to do Celtic versus Rangers at the weekend as we speak, right?
Right.
Celtic apparently as it is, because at Ibrox. And I tell you what happened. I'm doing it for BBC Radio 5 Live, and they often come to me before these games and say, "Paint us a picture, Pat, and what the atmosphere is like." What I don't say is, well, one side's got a British flag, the other side's got an Irish flag. One side's singing the Irish national anthem, the other was singing English songs. We're in a Scottish game here, remember? One thing's singing songs about 1916, one's about 1690. There's one on the left-hand side, I'm looking at people, and they've all got Star of Davids, and the other one have got PLO flags. And it's poisonous all round.
It's not just like you've got to pick a side in every conflict there's ever been, have you?
Exactly. Yeah. Basques, you need to go for it. Spanish v the Basques, right? So, I did the BBC down south asking me what's it like. I usually just come back with, yeah, the atmosphere's building nicely. I don't know any of that stuff.
Fantastic.
Who's got the Confederate flags then?
Oh, Confederate would be Rangers.
Of course they would. They're the baddies.
And I couldn't even tell you honestly why sometimes. You really couldn't sometimes. And I have to say, I've left it behind. I was never into that. And again, if you were chatting about my book, and I'm taking you mean the first one, which I called The Accidental Footballer.
Yes.
I've got a new one out which came out 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, and it's just a continuation of that until the end of my career, and it gets really weird. The second one, seriously weird. But I mean, I make it very, very clear in the first one, I couldn't be arsed with all that stuff.
No.
I just want to have a good time, watch football, play football, listen to music, and to hell with all that nonsense.
Oh, quite right. Oh, really? I mean, like I say, I find it bizarre that they've got an opinion. You pick a side in the PLO versus Israel.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the PLO are freedom fighters, so the Irish Catholics would go for that side. It's weird, honestly. It's just when you scratch your head sometimes. I'm sure some of them sort of talk to each other. What side are we on in that one?
Where do you stand on the Boxer Rebellion?
That Tang dynasty was terrible, honestly.
I much prefer the Ming. So I was amazed reading your book just how naturally football came to you. I find it astonishing because you seem to be.
You would, Paul.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. If you've ever seen me kick a ball, and the fact that football comes to naturally to anyone, but you almost seem to be fighting against it for some of that. But
yeah, no, I was fighting against being a professional player. I love actual playing football. I absolutely love that bit of it. But all the other stuff like the fame, etc. That goes with it. That everybody seems to want, particularly these days, more so even than when I was playing. The notoriety, all that stuff. I couldn't care less. I'm not interested in that. And the fact that I don't really like things, I don't buy things. I'm not interested in keeping things apart from albums. It has to be said.
Yeah.
Music. I just didn't get it. So I was playing it for the pure, absolute joy and love of playing. Yeah, you like winning too. That's a good thing as well. But on top of that, I just love creativity, and I kind of love anywhere weird creativity. You can see a link coming here, can't you? And I've always
crossed that one well.
Yeah. Well, I did another podcast recently. It was a thing called Life Goals with a journalist called Theo Delaney, and we were asking about your 8 favourite tracks on us, and it would change every week, obviously. The first one I chose was one I heard when I was 6 or 7, and it was a Rolling Stones track called 2,000 Light Years From Home, which is, for somebody who's 6 or 7, the reason why I liked it is because it was weird. It was different. It wasn't the same.
Yeah. Well, the rest of the album's terrible, isn't it?
Well, exactly. So, but it was different from I didn't hear the album. I'd heard it as a kid on through past Dartley Great Hits Volume 2 and a hexagonal album cover, if I remember correctly. I think.
Oh, right, yeah.
So I was hearing all the Ruby Tuesdays and all that, and last time, etc. But this one was the one that jumped out to me because, it was different. It wasn't following the rules. It was inventive. And wherever it is, be it painting, be it art, be it, dance, be it, playing football or anything, I'm always looking out for the new. And just some of us are built like that, aren't we? I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure we'll have a chat about Peely and stuff like that later. I mean, you need people like that, don't you?
You do.
Yeah. And thank goodness they're there, and certainly that was what turned me on.
I mean, there's an interesting line in the book about Peel where you sort of say they created Six Music basically just to do what he did.
I think so. I mean, not clearly like that, because some of the people who may have set it up may have not known that, but that really kind of is what it is. And you look at it now, the world has moved on, and you've got all sorts of ways of finding music, and there's so much out there, and it's kind of hard to get someone to filter it like Peely used to do for you. And there were very few others that could filter it to that level, that way, that would be helpful.
So you need someone to curate it, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're kind of swimming, I kind of see, but I don't know about yourselves. I mean, what I do is just a bunch of mates. We send each other music. We just talk to each other, tell each other what we think. Try listen to this, try listen to that. So still got a bunch of mates, and they're all scattered all over the world now, but it doesn't matter. And it is that nice thing when you find something, you think, oh yeah, I've got this, and you want to send it to the ones that you think will like that specific thing. And there is that joy of just finding the new, isn't there? I love that. I've never fallen in love with that.
And do you manage to find new music that you like today?
Yeah. It's I was recently, there was a track, a band called La Luz, L-A and L-U-Z, and it's they're an all-female band from the west coast of America, and they just do this. It's slightly psychedelic stuff. There's a track called Mean Dream. So if you're listening, go online and watch the video and sing the song of Mean Dream. There's a bit of Beach Boys in the background there, but it's grunged.
Okay.
But they also have that look of they're not dolling themselves up for this stuff. We're just going playing the bloody music, and I kind of always loved that, So, that jumped into my head there. But there's always stuff. Recently I found a lot of new stuff in Wales. So Wales have got just a wee scene that's grown up in the last couple of years. So kind of following that quite closely. And it's great to find these sort of things every now and again. There was a track a couple of years back. It's a wee bit harder for me just now because over the last 2 or 3 years I've written 2 books. Unlike other footballers, I write mine.
It does take up a lot of your time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. And you need to kind of do it right and research it. And I didn't tell anyone I was writing, I just wrote them. So it took up a lot of my time. And this is the so upsetting thing, I can't listen to music while I write because I just...
No, I can't either.
So it's impossible, isn't it? How can you think? How can you create when there's somebody you're going in the music? Well, some people can, but I can't. So it's been harder recently. But I remember finding it's a wee bit of a shoegazy track by a band called New Dad, called I Don't Recognise You Yet. And it was a cracker tune. It just came out of nowhere. And just every now and again. And these days it's more often tracks as opposed to full albums. And that's just the way music's...
It is.
Just these days.
Which is a shame in some ways, isn't it? I mean, I know you get sound like an old fart when you say this, that people don't listen to albums anymore, but it is true.
Yeah.
You're right.
I never thought I'd find myself saying this sentence, but I really like that new Blur album.
I don't think you should be embarrassed by that.
What's wrong with Blur?
Yeah,
I've never been a massive fan, but there's something about that new album that is just really, really good.
Every now and again, something comes up and you think, "Nope, I'm taking it. I don't care who it is, or it's just quite good." By the way, I remember. I think it was back to Peely. I think it was him that said this to me, and I'm sure he said it in the show loads of times. But it was one of my favourite lines. And anyone who didn't listen to Peely never understood. So you can steal it as your own, which was, the big argument between Blur and Oasis. And Peely obviously explained there was a correct answer to that. There was an actual correct answer at the time, which was Pulp.
Very good.
I'm stealing that for myself. Sorry, John.
So I must talk about, and I know it's something you've been asked loads about over the years, but just how different was your taste to your contemporaries when you were playing?
I mean, stupidly so. I mean, I've very quick potted history. You know, very young, liked Bowie, Pink Floyd, and early mid Genesis, right? So you go through that phase, and then things start to happen around 77, 78. You know, that I was getting to an age where I kind of hit that, and suddenly I'd started listening to Peel, and all these different things were coming in, and you're thinking, wow. And it was kind of opening up then. So by the time I was playing football, I was going to see a lot of bands in Glasgow. So I was playing part-time for Clyde, but I was a student. I was doing a degree at the same time as well. And I'm 17. Now, the lads are all listening to kind of very smooth, middle-of-the-road rock or stuff that used to give me a headache. And I would come in. And in the early days, I remember very early Simple Minds stuff, you know, reel-to-reel Cacophony and stuff like that, which was really...
I've been going back listening to Simple Minds because they get kind of overshadowed by that kind of stadium thing, don't they?
Yeah.
But they were great. I mean, that's still quite like the stadium stuff.
They were great early on, yeah.
They were really good.
The first, up until New Gold Dream, honestly, there's some amazing stuff in there. And it's very kind of European sound, and it's very dark, and it's very influenced by Bowie and the Berlin trilogy and all that sort of stuff, and a bit of krautrock in there as well. But all that sort of stuff, I would listen to that, and you take that in to let the players hear something, get that shit off, and you're thinking, forward 10 years, nothing except Simple Minds, you know?
So I was going to say, if they say that to Simple Minds, what were they saying when you put The Fall on?
Well, that was when the real test came, because I had to. Question: can I go back a wee bit further? Because my first ever understanding with The Fall was Peely had played a couple of tracks, and he was obviously madly in love with the band, and I couldn't see it early days. I just couldn't see it. But bugger that, I'm going to go along and watch. So it was the Hex induction hour in Glasgow. So that's gone back quite a bit, and flew right off my head.
Oh, we're back there with you. Don't worry.
Well, but it flew over my head. I'm thinking I was 17, and I'm going, what? And now at that time, I was a big Joy Division fan as well, and I was thinking, this will be the next Joy Division, you know, Manchester band and all that.
Yeah,
I was and I was like, and I was kind of missing it a wee bit, and then years afterwards, I thought, thank goodness, I left it a wee while, and I came back and thought, no, I have to have a go at this again. Because I'd come to it quite clean. If you think about it, going to see the gigs then, if you come to it cold, that was hard as a fan, as a music lover, you know, especially if you're the stuff you listen to is, you know, it's challenging, but you know that was another level really. So I kind of come back to it maybe a year or so later, and then kind of just got a couple of tracks, and then that was it. It was suddenly it was like a room opening. It was like a big door opening. Thing. Oh yeah, I'm going to see. Wow. Then it wasn't every track all the time, as it never is. And by the way, you can't make that amount of music and touch everybody's tastes all the time.
No, even we don't like every track.
Exactly, it's a kind of thing. But quite soon after that, I think getting into. I can remember Peely playing Lay of the Land at one point, and me going, oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. I've got that now. I'm there. And by then, that was it, straight out, buy the albums. And
wow.
It was from there. I'm trying to think, that's 83-ish, 84.
Yeah.
84-ish something.
Well, I was going to ask about 83 because that was when you signed to Chelsea, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is when I started getting a little bit of fun, because not long after then, you've got these long coach journeys and a really crap coach, right? All the way up to nobody's thought of bringing music or anything like that, but of course I have. It's back in the days, there's only a cassette recorder in the bus, right? It's no videos in that early days, right? So I'm the one, I say, well, sod it. They're bored with the radio. I'll go and make some compilations. So I'd make compilations and I'd make compilation tapes. This then evolved into videos very quickly because when the video recorders first came out, I bought two and mated them and started recording all my favourite music shows and stuff and just making compilations of music and other stuff to put on for my entertainment and for the lads as well. But, of course, we didn't have the same tastes. So I put things that were somewhere vaguely in the middle where I could just about put up with it. I can remember specifically once putting Frankie Goes to Hollywood's Relax, but not the modern version, the one they did before, was it Trevor Horn got a hold of it?
Yeah.
And they had the video and it was basically a half porn video, right?
Yes, I remember it.
Quite like that, but it was a rough kind of version of that song, and I was just picking up weird stuff at the time. But I put something like that on for them, and then a song that I could just about put up with that, that Simple Minds has put on. Then I'd lose it and put on The Fall, and they go, "Oh, what's that?" And he's shouting and bawling, and like, "Pat, get that off you! What are you doing?" and it would more often be The Fall that got them to shout it, but that was by the time I was trying to annoy them because I didn't want them to like the stuff that I liked. And I wouldn't go and put the easy one on. I'd put
I think that's quite an honour, that.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's a badge of honour.
It should be.
The Fall, annoying footballers since 1977.
So it's, I certainly remember quite a few times. And there were a few of the players that I tried hard to, get it in, and say, look, listen to this a couple of times. You really will like it. I think I might have had a wee effect in Lasso for a couple of songs, but not much.
But he was another one who was tarred as being too clever for his own good, wasn't he?
But that was my fault. He was my acolyte. He was a blank sheet of paper before I got hold of him. He really was. It was really weird. I was like, read that paper, right? Okay, go and see that band, right? Go and read that, son, because he was a few years younger than me, and he was quite an outsider and different as well. And then it comes to the point after a year or so, he was saying, right, what should I do now? Now's the time you think for yourself, Graham. This is the concept, okay?
Set him adrift.
Yeah, and it was lovely. And it's a shame, though, because it came back to haunt him, and he became known as the kind of arty footballer. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, you haven't, mate. Weird stuff used to happen. I wonder, I'm trying to think, did I take him to see the I Am Curious Orange up at, I think it was Hammersmith. I remember going there. I remember I wanted to take him. I can't even remember if he came or not. I was certainly with a girlfriend at the time, and went to see that. And Michael Clark was dancing, wasn't he, for that?
Yeah.
And I'd kind of obviously loved the music, loved the album. By that time,
was that in Edinburgh?
No, I was in Hammersmith.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was what was it in Hammersmith? I'm trying to think where it was. Yeah. It was a theatre. It was played there.
Sadler's Wells, it was, yeah.
Was it Sadler's? I don't know why I think it's Hammersmith. Weird. I'm going to have to go and search that one.
Hammersmith Riverside was the play.
I wonder if it was that.
Anyway, yeah. Possibly, because Michael Clark was in that as well.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you get them mixed up over the years. So it could have been that. Actually, it could have been that. And at the time, I was actually quite into dancing as well. So in various types, and even real sort of the Royal Ballet stuff, etc. But by that time, you'd had This Nation Saving Grace. I think that was that the year? What was the year? I remember seeing a gig down at was Central London. Brix was in the band. It was, My New House was played that night, and it was one of the best things I've ever heard in my life, as in the way it blew an entire audience away. And it was poppier than everything else, But I can't remember what year that was. But it was an extraordinary...
86, would it? Maybe?
85, 86, yeah.
Yeah. Because it was that whole period of, was it LA and Spoiled Victorian Child and all that stuff, and there was, he said, oh yes, and it was just a really, really comfortably one of my favourite bands, and I'm really, really happy now to just get everything, you know. And I thought it was a kind of real golden era. Well, it was for me. And remember, a lot of these things, it's where you are in your life, isn't it?
That's where you're at the time. Yeah.
You know, and just that whole period that every album, every release had something extra special, quite a few extra special things on it as well. And of course, by that point, I'd become mates with John Peel, and you know, which was totally and utterly stunning, just absolutely and utterly amazing. And I'd be sitting in the studio. You know, he didn't tell people that I was there, you know, because famous footballer, inverted commas, but I didn't want to be famous. So he'd now and again say, oh, I've got the famous footballer in tonight, you know, but nobody knew who it was. And I was, because I was so sort of different culture, people just simply wouldn't have guessed. So it was just fabulous. Sort of learning curve, but then he was a bit of a hero to many people when I was growing up, and then suddenly I'm sitting behind him going for a vegetable curry and having a right good laugh. It was great fun.
Yeah. So you met the Frank Chickens with John Peel, didn't you? Is that right?
I met lots of bands, but I funny enough, in that book, I'd mentioned the Frank Chickens because it was a good story. But there was loads of other people I met. But the Frank Chickens were brilliant because they were off their heads. They were absolutely nuts. Yeah. I kind of liked the noise they were making was great, but they seriously wanted to. So they did a session, and then we were in the studio chatting, and I don't know what it was when I was younger. I was maybe a little bit pretty when I was younger, right? But Japanese people always seemed to like me. And girls try to drag me onto their plane to go back to Japan. We can make you a star. Everyone would love you in Japan. I'm going, I think not. And by the way, I'm training in the morning for Chelsea. It was completely more important. And they couldn't get it. They couldn't understand this. What football couldn't get it. But they were deliciously mad. But there was lots of bands. I remember hanging about with all the Vindaloo summer special thing. Like, I don't know if you remember this. Ted Chippington, the Nightingales, and Fuzzbox, and that. I'm actually in a video with them. But just most of my mates and most of the people I met were in bands. You know, that's where and it's not that I was just wanting to be with famous people, because they weren't famous people. These people in these bands, they were just people I had a lot in common with. So it was an ace time. But with Peely, I wish I would have kept more of a diary.
I think that as well. Yeah. A camera I wish I'd had when I was in the fall. Yeah. Just takes pictures of, you know, because obviously now there's a picture of everything, isn't there? Mm. Everything that happens these days, there's at least 10 pictures of it, but there's swathes of stuff when I was in the fall where there's just no record at all.
Yeah, it's horrible. There's lots of. I'm trying to think of, you know, where I saw the band play in central London, round about this Nation Saving Grace time, right? Ben Sinister, all that sort of stuff. But it was regular. It was different places, you know. I remember them all because I always used to keep ticket stubs. I could lean over the 2 feet from where I am just now, and there's a bag with about 500 in them, right? There's just loads of them. But a lot of them absolutely didn't have the band name on them. So just the ticket stub and a date sometimes, you would just pay in at the door, sort of thing. But so that's what I wish I could have taken. You know, certainly written just something down. I've got a concert ticket here for a band like the Go-Betweens, who I kind of loved at the time. 87. I can't remember a thing about it, and I loved that. I hate myself for not writing down what they sang or what I felt about it, because it's gone. And I saw them later, but it's kind of like that, isn't it? You want to have those memories. And I would love. So I recently, you've just reminded me of something. One of John's, as we call it, interns, as you'd call it now, but one of the people who used to help John on the show was Paget. And Paget, she became great friends, and we still are close friends. And I met up for the first time in a few years, just a couple of months ago. And the stories she told me of things that I was there that I have no memory of.
Remember.
It wasn't even drink. I had no memory of it at all. But they were amazing people that you met, places that you went to, things that you saw. And that's why I used to never look back too much. And now I want to meet my old mates all the time so they can remember what the hell I did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a layer of that in the fall where you didn't get too excited about things. It was kind of frowned on, really. Yeah. So, if I decided saying I must remember this, I want to take pictures of it, I don't think it'd gone down too well.
I'm playing the Hammersmith Odeon or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I never played the Hammersmith Odeon, Steve, so thanks for that.
But you know how hard it is for you to, there's so many members of the bands through the years. And of course, we know sort of Mark is the kind of centre, etc. But it was head spinning being a fan. Right, I want to remember wait, they've all changed, or what?
Yeah,
no other band ever did it like that. And okay, then you began to get the thing. All right, okay, that's kind of what happens, and it's like watching Chelsea just now. They've made 17 changes since last season, and the fans are going, "Hey, that was our team. You've just mocked up our team." And I'm thinking, well, that was my band. What are you doing that for? How can I liking this? Don't do that, please. And you really, from the outside, it was really annoying. It was really,
it was very annoying from the inside.
Even more so.
It wasn't that great from the inside, no.
So that used to drive me bloody nuts. And if it was, say it was a band, an album or part of an album that you didn't like much, you start thinking, yeah, that's because you got rid of them too. You start blaming Mark for doing that, So and probably right. So it's fine to some degree, but there was always enough good stuff, and most bands over the years start, high, build up to a high very quickly, and then slowly fall down. If you look at I cannot give you a graph of the fall. It's impossible.
No. I mean, they just refuse to become a heritage act in any way. I mean, I think it's a lot harder to do that, and you've got to be a lot more bloody minded about it than people think. I mean, because, he does it. Kevin Rowland kind of refuses to be just a heritage act, and so he won't go out and play, the albums the way you remember them or anything like that. But even so, I don't think he's managed to shake it off. There's still people there expecting him to come out and do Come On Eileen the way it's on the record. Whereas The Fall, you had nobody in that audience was in any illusion that they were going to come on and do Rebellious Jukebox in 1999, was it?
Yeah, and to be honest, that's part of it. I can remember, I'm terrible with dates, but it was a gig up in Edinburgh, and it was 8 or 9 years ago. That's a vague guess. It could be 5, it could be 9, I don't know. But it was up at the Liquid Rooms, and I went along. And of course, as usual, booked to come on at 9. I'm standing there at 11, nothing happening yet. And I've got training in the morning, or I've got to get to work, and I live an hour and a half away. I've driven in there, and it just makes life unbelievably difficult. Yeah. But then it came on, and then it was totally different from what I expected again. But then I thought, yeah, I'm rolling with this now. I just always roll with it, just see where it's going. And some are better than others. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not good. But it is like, do you want to watch the same movie every single time?
I was going to say, that in a way, that is a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like going to a restaurant going on holiday and going to a restaurant or going to McDonald's, isn't it? If you go to McDonald's, you know exactly what you're going to get. So it's never going to be terrible, but it's never going to be great.
Yeah, but I can tell you the problem with it, though. See, if you want to bring your mates along, you'll love this man. Come along.
You have to pick a good night.
But you just have to accept that. But the lovely thing is, because of, you know yourself so well, that there is such a group of us, obviously splattered all over the world, that we kind of get the concept and we can just run with it and sort of never leave it down. I don't know if I don't actually think I put in any of the books. Do you mind if I tell you a story about the fall?
yeah, of course. Yeah, no. What do you think this is? Some kind of podcast about the fall?
Yeah, exactly. No, there's a couple of things that you kind of. I want to make sure you come out before I, to go off. I remember the very last the Peel session, the last Peel session that Mark did, and they played the track "Blindness," and to this day, one of my favourite fall tracks. And session, I just like the session version better than the album version. I mean, they're both great, but I prefer the session version. And I can remember doing it, listening to it, and he played it, and I thought, shit, I love that, man. That's brilliant. Anyway, phone call a while later from Sheila saying that John was having a party. And I said, I'll be there. Because they had the party every 5 years or so. And I come off the phone, and my wife said, so when's that? And I told her the date. She goes, you're doing a charity event that morning in Edinburgh. And another charity event. It's a golf charity event, that would go down well in the fall. Golf charity event next morning, right? At 9 a.m, right? Also in Edinburgh. And John's party's in Suffolk. And my wife saying, that's impossible. And I went, no, I've got to be there. I've got to be there. So, and I said, I'm not flashy, and I'm not that wealthy. And I said, but even if I have to hire a wee plane or something. And she's looking at me as if I'm a nutcase, because I've never said anything like this in my life before. Anyway, eventually I'll work it out. I have to play in this golf tournament the Saturday morning. Play at 9 o'clock. I'm finished by 1. I'm at Edinburgh Airport by 2. I'm on the plane. I land at Stansted, and I got a car waiting for me to take me over. And I'm on John's doorstep at 6 p.m. All right. And
blimey,
it's a brilliant night. It's fantastic. It's over by, towards Suffolk anyway there. So it was a brilliant night. The bands that played were great. I happen to love a band called Camera Obscura. They were there tonight. They're good friends of mine as well. They were John's next big love. It's a band that was going to push. So it was a magical night. 12 o'clock. Jumped in the car. Somebody drove me back to the car. Drove me back to the airport. Got about 3 hours sleep. Flight in the morning 6 a.m. I'm on the golf course at 9 a.m. So I've done it, and I'm really, really pleased. And I was just, and it was always fine. And my wife said, I don't know why you did that. That's mental. John died 2 weeks later.
Blimey.
And I have never, ever done anything like it since or before. And I kept on saying all the way through it, I don't know why I need to go, but I need to go. And she kept on saying, I don't know what you're doing. And I said, I have to be there. So it was the strangest thing. But the reason why I tell you the story is because afterwards, the album came out, the next album came out, and I walked into, it was a record shop at the time, we won in Edinburgh, we indie one in Edinburgh, and I asked for the album, and I couldn't speak, I couldn't say it, because this was the last time that I'd ever be able to walk in and buy an album after I'd held John playing it. And for me, and for many people, how big a part of that of our lives was. And that was the last album of John ever suggest, or last piece of music that I bought purely on his suggestion on the show. So it was a really moving and really strange, and I don't know, the guy behind the counter kind of looked at me and clocked me, and he could see I was quite upset, and it just gave me this kind of weird kind of nod of and it's okay, I know. It was. Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't have got that if you went into HMV or ordered it online. But this shop called Unknown Pleasures, of all things. It was amazing. It was beautiful, weird.
Yeah, well, he said that himself, John Peel, didn't he? It was one of his regrets was about dying was that there'd be a fall album that he never got to hear.
Oh, absolutely. I remember him saying it.
Yeah.
Can I tell another Mark story? Which I'm sure you don't know. It was I can't remember who it was. It had involved Tony Wilson anyway. But Granada wanted me to do a programme about architecture, just a one-off documentary about, and I love my city of Glasgow. And of course, Mark was going to make the argument for Manchester, the architecture there. Well, there are lots of similarities, and that was going to be that. And of course, he never turned up.
What?
Does that shock you in any way whatsoever?
Not really.
No, it doesn't. And it didn't shock me either. So I actually had to do Manchester and Glasgow. That was the only time that I came close to meeting him. Never met Mark.
No, I was going to ask you that, yeah.
Never met him. But that was the time we were supposed to meet. And I'd already been prepped of, right, there's every chance he'll hate me and I'll just smile. I'll just go on.
Did we find out why he didn't turn up?
There was suggestions of a big night the night before that had gone on far too long.
Something yet, obviously. The thing about that is if he got an inkling that you were suspecting he wouldn't like you, then he probably would have. He would have made it his business to like you, because that was the kind of thing he did. That whole thing of whatever people say I am, that's what I'm not. That could have been his epitaph, I think.
I love that. I kind of like people like, because I like playing that game. I don't know if you remember that first book. There was a story about Morrissey in it as well.
Oh, I've got to ask you about. I'm dying to know about that. Morrissey and Norman Whiteside. That's the highlight of the book for me.
It's amazing when people ask me about the book. Honestly, I must have done a couple of hundred, book festivals and interviews and stuff like that. Right? Everybody has a different favourite part of that book. And thank you for being one of the first people to say the Whiteside and stuff, because. We're
both United fans, so we're always going to be biased towards Norman Whiteside.
But no, it was utterly, utterly brilliant. I loved Big Norm. I absolutely deeply love him. Still in touch with him quite a bit. And he is a very misunderstood character. But, meeting up with Morrissey Vinny and Riley.
How was that?
So Vinny, Riley and I were great mates. And I loved Vinny's work. And I still deeply, deeply love Duretti Column. And he invited me along to see his friend Stephen. Like, yeah, all right. and it was the most bizarre evening. And in the book, I've kind of curtailed the story quite a bit. A lot more happened that, and I'm not saying lawyers would have stopped it, but people like maybe you and me or both of you and I would love more of the detail.
Yes, we would.
Publishers are saying, yeah, but not everybody does. Like, So, but it was an amazing night where I went around to his house. Strange, showing me around all the rooms. Every single room had a brilliant story in it. And I've got a slight advantage. Here's my advantage. I've worked in football, right? And you're talking about Mark being an extreme character, right? The extreme characters that I met in football, like Sir Alec, Jock Stein before him, these were extraordinary characters. And I just wanted to see what was making them have control over people. So they never had control over me. None of them ever. I think Jock Stein was the closest. He was a master manipulator. I mean, a really clever man. But I learned enough to then see the games of other people and the intellectual challenges that they set you. Mm-hmm. And kind of Sir Alex. He was a wee bit. You're talking about Mark. I could see lots of that in Sir Alec as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he was waiting for you to do the expected, and then he'd do the unexpected, and vice versa. So it was, but I find those characters very, very interesting. Sometimes in fairly small doses. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, you would have stuck in a lift with them.
It takes a lot of energy to be like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that are extraordinary characters that are ultra weird, and I lost one quite recently, a wee while back in an accident. He was one of the biggest characters I've ever knew, but I deeply, deeply loved their company for a while.
Yeah.
That's enough. I'm off now and just get out of there. And it's one of my biggest problems. And the fortunate thing where I worked in this high level of football, and then high level at media and sports, and then I did executive roles, etc. You meet something weird and extraordinary and bloody annoying people sometimes. But it's too easy in this life to, everything's black and white. It's not. I love the nuances of character, but as long as you can walk away sometimes.
Yes. I mean, it's quite the superpower, and I think it probably shared between Alex Ferguson Mark E. Smith, Morrissey, the idea that you don't care whether people like you or not.
Well, I didn't care whether they liked me or not either, or anyone that I meet. I mean, funnily, but because I will treat you as, if I meet the king or I meet a roadsweeper, I will talk to you exactly the same way. I don't care.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no difference. And I don't think I should be expected to be any different. I'll be polite, kind, interested. I've got this thing I do now, and I've been doing it for about 6 or 7 years, where everywhere I travel, and I travel quite a lot with the job that I do, I say hello to everyone I sit beside. So whether on a plane or a tube, which is a difficult one sometimes, gives a nod. Should usually turn around, catch your eye and nod, right? And then they decide whether they want to speak to you.
Yeah.
And it's basically oh, hello. And if they say, oh, hello, and look away, that's it, you've done your job. But if they say, oh, hello, and then say something back, and seeing over the last 6 or 7 years, I have met some of the most incredible people who have no fame, or sometimes they are in their own world. And
how's it usually work then? What percentage of people?
Well, tell you, the weirdest ones are Americans, I have to say. You can't shut them up when they start. And I don't know if you really, not all Americans, but the one that gets me is, they talk to him for a minute, and then about 10 minutes later they say, yes, I voted Trump. And what? I thought you were normal. You sounded awfully normal. Yeah. And then out pops the cloven hoof. You know what I mean? And like you think, shit, but then don't turn off in, actually. Then listen. That's the time when it's hard to listen, then listen. And try and find out why someone who seems fairly reasonable in every other part of the conversation that you've been having suddenly comes up with this. And that's actually been really enlightening. None of them have changed my mind in the nutcase, but it's been enlightening why they think that. And because it's easy to say, oh, they're all just stupid and ignorant. It really is easy. Yeah. And that makes us feel good. But you got to give them more than that. You got to listen to why. And I played a game of golf the other day with somebody who was a big Trump fan. And it sounds as if I play golf all the time. I don't, but just meet weird people when I go there. I have to go there, and it's and they're so strident with their viewpoints. And I've stopped arguing with them, and I just say, "Tell me more. Let me know about this. Tell me that." And it's really great things, And again, it's all the way back to the start of the conversation. Do you want to learn? Do you want to use? I didn't want to learn and see something and try and find out. I'd have gone to the Hex induction hour tour, thought, nah, not having that, and never, ever, ever, ever looked again. You should look again. You should try it. It's always worth it.
Yeah, but I work with Americans and I've worked with people who supported Trump, but the thing I found baffling about is he's not a good example of what they believe in. He's certainly not a good espouser of Republican views, is he?
No, I mean, none about him. I'm not saying, hey, he has no saving grace.
Very good.
So everything's just about completely negative from my point of view, but I'm also listening to what they're saying, and why they think that way. And sometimes it's, again, back to something we were talking about earlier, my enemy's friend's my friend, kind of stuff. And it's simply that. That's what they think. They hated Hillary, so they'll go for him. There was nothing else to vote for, all that stuff. Hey, I'm not doing underline, there is no backing of Trump from me, right?
Disclaimer. I've got a disclaimer on the beginning. The views expressed.
This was a newspaper I was talking to. I know they would be editing it down, going, "Oh yeah, we'll get that."
Yeah.
But and funnily, I've got very mixed attitudes towards America anyway. Very mixed attitudes. I've got some deep loves of large parts of things that I've liked about America. I mean, certainly great writers that have come out of America. Certainly some brilliant music's come out of the States as well. But there's some attitudes that I quite like for the Americans as well. They do this thing where they watch sport and they don't do it with hate.
No.
Yeah.
But do you not think it's difficult to divorce the passion from the hate, though, isn't it? A lot with football sometimes.
I come from Glasgow. The answer. So So you're right, and it's the thing. I want my team to win, or but if they don't, if the other team's a better team, then fair enough. But I can't be doing with the absolute vile hatred, because bigotry. If you tend to find that an either in all of these situations, if you stand outside it, it does tend to look quite small.
Yes, of course, it looks ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. So that's where I kind of stand on it. But it's one of the things I've kind of learned over the years. You want to listen to people. You want to. I work with too many people that know everything. I mean, a lot of people that seem to know everything, and also tell you they're going to tell you the score of the game next week. And I'm thinking, are you shit? And I don't care how many games you've played and how many medals you've got, you're just guessing. The worst thing I get is when I've worked in other industries and you get these incredibly wealthy people who, just because they had one good business decision, think they know everything about everything. And some of them are just thick as pig shit. But they think they're masters of the universe. They're the ones that absolutely get me. They kill me. They just drive me nuts. I mean,
that's the big American thing, isn't it? That.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that kills me, that one. That's the one. And you should be listening to them more. And I suppose that is the epitome of Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know everything. And it's just because he's good at selling. And he is good at selling. He's very good at selling.
He's not even that good at selling, though, is he? I mean, we can all be good at business if we're born with £300 million in the bank.
I should add, himself selling. I think he's quite good at that.
He must be, mustn't he?
Give him that. So
before we get complete, I was going to say about Norman Whiteside.
Yeah.
I don't know. Before we got on to Trump. That was one of my career highlights with Norman Whiteside. It used to be in this covers band, and we played this United event the night before the match, and we actually did Mr. Brightside with I'm Norman Whiteside as the lyric, with Norman on backing vocals. So that was the highlight of my career. Wait.
You've told me that before, have you?
I don't know. I've told everybody else I know.
I love that. That's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I've got a picture with him somewhere. I must find that. I must dig that out, actually.
I'm trying to think. I'm on a few records, but I try to keep that hidden. So, and I have signed once as frontman in a band when I was about 21, and it was in Glasgow, and I kind of put up. I'll tell you because it's so fun. It was the Bluebells and another band from Glasgow, and they asked me. I knew the singer's girlfriend. I was going out with her friend anyway. So they said, "Could you sing a song for us?" So there's a new band on the scene at the time. And I said, well, I'll cover one of their songs, and I'll change the words. And they went, all right. So I played for Chelsea that day, then flew back up to Glasgow, and got onto the gig, and it was right at the end. And Bobby Bluebell introduced me on, and the place is looking really stunned. So this new band was called The Proclaimers, and the song "When You Go, Will You Send Back a Letter from America?" And I changed the words to "When You Go, Will We Send Back Soonest to Sampdoria?" And the whole thing was this big anti-Rangers skit, but fun. And
yes,
it was. So I've never kind of thought, I wish I was in a band all the time, but it exploded. The place was brilliant, and at the end of it, the lads of the band turned around and went, "God, do it again!" It was amazing. I went, "No, let them leave. Let them want more. Just leave it."
Leave them
And to this day, it's one of my favourite things that's ever happened to me. But I did it, and I've been there once, and time to move on.
Yeah, you've done it. Now take that box. You don't need to do it again, do you?
Yeah, I know. The only other thing I do that's kind of similar, I do a lot of DJing, and that's a great thing. I refuse, and I point blank refuse to DJ without playing a full track. You must have a full track.
Wow.
It's not possible for me to DJ anywhere. And I've found myself.
Okay, which full track do you play that doesn't immediately clear the dance floor? And
Lost in Music doesn't.
Well, of course it doesn't. No.
Absolutely doesn't.
Yeah.
My New House doesn't.
No? Okay.
Hit the North doesn't. I mean, you got to remember some of the places I play right off. Like they're kind of that direct, not absolutely that direction, but they're kind of open-minded people that will maybe be liking Belle and Sebastian and all that sort of stuff. So they're okay, and kind of stuff that is more esoteric. And there is plenty. And to be honest, I love sort of mixing stuff and changing stuff around so that it is. I mean, I remember doing DJing a while back there and decided to do an evening of just covers. And it's really good. Can you find enough good covers that are all danceable? Not just covers of, it's covers of bands you like and stuff that maybe we would think was pretty good. So I absolutely will not ever play a gig without. I pushed it a wee bit once by trying to, and it kind of worked by playing a My Bloody Valentine song, and that's kind of hard to get people dancing.
Bloody racket, that is, isn't it? My Bloody Valentine, Christ.
There was an Andrew Weatherall mix of one of their tracks soon, and that's danceable. But but the fall must be there. I have to tell you something else. This is the weird thing. So there's a couple of places I DJ, and so there's one in London, down in. I call Scared to Dance, and there's a few around the country, and I do often get asked to go, and I don't do as many as I used to, and it's kind of just time wise it's harder. Honestly, I would say the Fall's pretty close to the most common band I'm asked to play. Isn't that amazing? Because people know that a number of bands and they know the Fall, and if you go and you're out for a night out, how often do you get a chance to jump about to the Fall?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often, does it? Whereas it's playing tonight, and then they're up and they're asking, and I always have this smile and just say, yeah, it's all right, it's coming, mate, no problem.
Well, I mean, I think the Fall have got slightly more mainstream in the last few years. Amazingly, I think. There are a lot of, we've talked about it before, there are a lot of soundtracks and things now use the Fall. Which I don't think you'd have got before.
It's not quite annoying me yet, but when can you go anywhere without hearing Joy Division on a soundtrack? Everywhere. And it's just an age thing. The people that are directors now are an age where they will
of course,
and it's atmospheric. And I get it, and it is now and again. I think I got over it. The day I got over it, and sorry about this to United fans, it was the day when they started singing Gigs Will Tear Us Apart again. And I thought, none of you were there. I know you're all from Manchester, but there was very few of us there going to see even early New Order gigs. You didn't know that track. This is all afterwards you're figuring this out.
That's right.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't overly familiar with the Manchester Calypso before they started singing it at Old Trafford.
And I thought then, actually, it's music. It's for everybody, and it's good that it's if you're going to pick a track, pick a decent track. So that was okay in the end. So stuff that's used in different places, I just love it, and it's one of my things.
Yeah.
You see, I'm a big fan of looking out for music in films. I mean, what's her name? Sofia Coppola. I don't know if you've listened to some of her soundtracks are pretty weird and wonderful and strange. But there's lots of others out there who. Have you seen the recent Guardians of the Galaxy? Yeah,
I have. Yes.
Well, they've got.
I mean, the soundtracks to all three of them are great, aren't they?
They're amazing. So they're, and it's an age thing. It's the same thing. People who listen to music at an age are now of an age where they are development, directing, and doing that sort of thing, and that's why you're this sort of stuff now.
I don't know what you were saying just earlier, Paul, weren't we? That wedding you were at, that they were playing all the old songs.
Yeah, I think I say that the newest thing they played, I think, was Chelsea Dagger by the Fratellis. I mean, and that's what 12 years, 13 years.
Yeah, it's kind of for a lot of people, it's just harder. You look at the charts, if you ever look at them, which I'll be honest, I don't. But a wee story. My cousin, my young nephew, is this band that are just two guys with two laptops, obviously, and they wouldn't make any new stuff. So he invited them down to the Scottish Borders where we live, and he locked them in this hen house next door to his mum and dad's. It's a nice hen house, by the way. It's a B&B hen house, right? Okay. Anyway, they come up with a track, right? Because he wouldn't let them out until they come up with a track after 2 days, right? Let them go home. That track spent 10 weeks at number 1 last year.
Bloody hell, man.
So,
what was it?
LC system. LF system, right? Anyway, I've listened to it about a dozen times. I don't get it. It's not that I don't get it, it's that I don't get why anyone would get it. But obviously, millions of people did. And the theme signatures are really weird, and it goes fast and then really slow. But it's a very, very. But obviously, so there's stuff out there that I still challenge people that I don't see that. But I can look around now and say, well, wait a minute, I can meet 10 different people and say, what's your favourite track of the last 5 years? And I would say most of them would say, I don't know. I've not heard one that I really particularly like, unless it's Taylor Swift or something.
Yeah.
It's really hard for a lot of
people.
people.
We're knocking Taylor Swift, of course.
No, not at all. But, it's for a lot of people, unless you search it, it's hard on the...
Yeah. I mean, like I say, it's go back to that sort of Peel curation thing as well. There's nobody... I mean, our friend Mark Riley, he does a similar job on Six Music, where he'll play old stuff and he'll play new stuff, and, he kind of tries to point people in the right direction. But the problem, I think, is a lot of people don't listen to radio anymore in that way. With Spotify and everything else, it's all playlists, it's all algorithms, isn't it?
Yeah, no, 100%. And that is the difficulty. And that is why Six Music was supposed to be set up, for that specific purpose. And they're slightly less. I happen to like Steve Lamack as well. Yeah. And Steve tries as well, without a doubt. I've nothing against, I've DJ'd with one or two of the guys as well. And they go in their different, and the girls as well, but they go in their different direction. But do any of them really cover what Peely did? And it's not covering what Peely, that's not the point.
No.
It's discovering quality, insane quality, where others would have missed it. And that's the genius. That's the bit where, I go and see football games, and I'll go and go back to a club and go, I've just spotted this player. He's unbelievable. And they say, no, we've watched him. His stats or the data analysis tells me. And I'm going, yes, I know. There's a reason why he's so good for that team, that he's bored and he's doing silly things. But trust me, he's brilliant. But the data doesn't tell you that. You need an eye or an ear. And that's...
You don't fancy scouting for United, do you?
Can I tell you a story? Oh, you'll like this. Oh, you maybe hate this. I'll tell you anyway. So I had a player, and I thought he was brilliant. So my team at the time was Chelsea. This was not that long ago. And I went to Chelsea and said, I've got a player for you. Brilliant. You've got to buy him. And I told them a name, and they went, nah, we've watched him. He's not right for us. He does make mistakes. And I went, oh, fair enough, but I think you're foolish. He's cheap as anything. I think he's unbelievable. Anyway, my mate had just got a new job. And my mate was Davy Moyes. And Davy Moyes had just been made Manchester United manager.
Okay.
So I phoned up Moyesy and I said, David, got a player for you, mate. Honestly, he's great. He buttons. For you, it's buttons. It's about 10 million. And for you, you got to get... He goes, I told him the name and he went, nah, I don't know. We've looked at him, he makes mistakes. I know, David, he's bored. He's too good for where he is. And they never touched him. Anyway, Virgil van Dijk eventually went on to play for Southampton.
He didn't do so bad, did he?
No. So, Manchester United, you think of the centre-back problems you've had. Yes, think about it. That could have been sorted in a heartbeat, in a second, and it should have been. And I was fuming with Moisey because he needed a help then, and I knew what was going on behind the scenes. Because he told us what would happen. Because, Sir Alec had kind of run the team down, hadn't they? They'd won the league. They were absolutely gone. And after a few weeks, Moyes had said, What have you left them? They're gone. Why have you done this? Why have you left me with this? Alex said,
I don't know how they won the league, that 2012-2013 league. I don't know how he did it. It must have been just sheer force of his will, I think.
I agree. It was unbelievable. One of the greatest ever to win it with that group, right? Right. But Moyes' question was fantastic. Moyes said, why did you leave me with that? To which Sir Alex said, absolutely brilliantly, what, did you want me to spend all your money before you came here? It's a classic.
Yeah.
And it's lovely. And Moisey went, fair enough. But so Moisey had gone to the board and said, do you want it done quickly, but it'll be more expensive? Or do you want me to build a dynasty? It'll take 2 or 3 years. Yeah. That's what you've done with Fergie. And the board went, take it slowly but surely. That's what we want. What happened? 7 months.
Yeah. Well, I don't think teams will do that. I think the amount of time Ferguson got, Sir Alex got to get where he wanted United to be, you'd never get it now, would you?
No. And it's a shame that, because the people that are making these decisions to bring the managers in, they're the ones that are making the mistake then, because they got it wrong. But they never sack themselves, do they?
No, they don't. I wish the Glazers had root and sacked themselves. They can't be long now.
I really annoyed Man United fans. I remember Man United fans get annoyed me a while back. I remember that time when there was the kind of all the fans got in and the game was cancelled. Was it against Liverpool? Yeah, the game was cancelled. And I was supposed to cover it. I was on the radio. I was covering another game. And I was on the radio that day. And at the start of it was a big story, wasn't it? It was an amazing story. And I'm between you and I and whoever's listening, I was right behind them, right? I'm on your team, right? 100%. Don't like how they've done it, the way they've done it, right? The Glazers. But then I say, look, I understand the anger and put up across the point that that's exactly the way I feel. And then I said, however, here are the downsides. And I explained what can happen, right? Just because that's my job. I'm reporting. Quite a lot hadn't heard my first bit, but I said, by the way, I'm on your team. I get photos from you. So as soon as you get a few on Twitter saying or whatever, or saying something, the others don't hear the initial. They all pile
they don't know.
And they're all piling. I'm going, no, but I'm in your team. At this point, Nevin's a little shit. And I'm going, no, what? You're just saying exactly the opposite. And of course, it grew for a wee while. And of course, they disappeared after a few weeks. And and they would forget about it as well. And so would everyone. I remember that one was the one that I couldn't believe it, because I don't often get groups of fans sort of turning on me for whatever reason. But that was one of the few times. Can I tell you another? Because we're United just now, I'll tell you my favourite United stories. I was working with Channel 5 and we were doing a game. It may have been in Bilbao when Man United played over there. And it was after the game and I'm doing piece to camera with the United fans kept in afterwards about 30 yards away. And they are slaughtering me in the songs of finished. And at this point, and it's kind of sounds quite vicious. And the guy who's talking with me, the kind of anchor, and he's going, oh, you can see in his eyes thinking, we need to get Pat out of this. This is a terrible situation. The terrible situation is I can't stop laughing. Well, I'm trying to. It's brilliant. This is hilarious. So we finish it, and 4 or 5 people from Channel 5 come over and go, right, we'll get you out of here. And I went, what? I said, that's just football fans. Oh no, it's horrible that. You shouldn't have to deal with that. I went, don't be silly. Watch this. And I turned around and I walked the 30 yards over to the United fans and started talking to a bunch. And then there was a couple of thousand in there. They were absolutely brilliant. It was, that's just what you do. It's not.
Of course,
It's just piss taking. And it's just, and as soon as you're human and you come over and talk to people and go, yeah, that was really funny that you absolutely got me there. And I was pissing myself laughing while I was doing that. I chatted for about 10, 15 minutes and then just waved and said cheerio. And they gave me this really brilliant round of applause. And it always stuck with me that, like, football fans aren't ogres. They're people. They're us don't treat them.
Yes,
and that's
that's the thing. And you feel it about your own team fans, but then sometimes it's difficult to say about the opposition's team's fans. And you've got to keep that in mind, haven't they? They're just the same as you are, which is easier said than done when you're playing a game.
Must be harder for you lot, but see on stage, like, because it's if anything comes at you on stage, you know, that must be slightly different. Because I get it now. Used to get it playing football quite a bit. You know, you get abuse or whatever for the fans, and it was just part of the gig. And if you could make a bit of a laugh, you know, and you know, I used to always because I'd read a book once. I was obviously thought to be gay. Now I'm not homophobic in any way, but I happen not to be gay.
No,
but if I turned around and blew them a kiss, some would get angry, but most of them would go, "Oh, brilliant! That's a good laugh."
But I mean, well, we're going to have to wrap it up because we could talk all day. But I mean,
this isn't a show. This is just a chat. Sorry.
No, that's quite all right. I'd rather have a chat. That's what this podcast's all about. The idea is that you're on the next table listening to three people in the pub. So I think we've covered that 100%. But I was just going to say about the fact that, what's your opinion of the fact there's no out players in 23?
No, it's good. It's okay. It's fine. And the reason being, I'll really edit this argument together. There is no problem in the game. It's fine. If you're gay, nobody gives a shit. And I'm absolutely comfortable with that. There's 2 or 3 players have come out, lower leagues, and they've been fine. So if you want to come out and you're a player, come out. You'll be cool with the players. However, will the public be the same? And by the public, I have to say, I mean the fans as well, or some fans. So there's going to be a bit of stick. There's going to be a bit of stick online for whoever comes out. But don't worry. I say don't worry because I can say that because I'm great and it's no problem for me. But there'll be plenty of us standing beside you. There's also the fact that you will be a cause celeb to some degree. And you might not want to be. You don't have to come out if you don't want to. You have many other things. You might be a footballer. You may be lots of other things. You might be a music fan. You might be a million things. It's up to you. But what I always say to people who say there's a big problem, I always say, no, there's not. When the player comes out, it'll be fine. However, society's not fine yet. That's your problem. So don't play football. Blame the society. The other people, quite clearly and rightly, people say that, you know, the amount of players there's been over the years, how many that have come out, that there must be so many. And I know one, I just know one, who was a top level player and never came out, and that was fine. You know, he was seen quite happy with it. But I didn't know any more. Now, I should know more, shouldn't I? Because you talk to me more than anyone else. But no, there are very, very few, I would imagine. But that doesn't work with the percentages, does it?
No.
Ever.
No.
If you look at the percentage of male ballet dancers are gay, do you think that's at the average for the community? Or do you think that's mild?
So there is that, isn't it? You are drawn to an interest that you feel comfortable in.
Or feels welcoming from the outside.
Yes. Yeah.
So there's more things going on here than you think. Every club's got a kind of rainbow laces or a kind of LGBTQ involvement at top level. It's there now. It'll come. Just have a look at the women's game. I know what the numbers are. There's very, very, very high percentages of female players at top level are gay, right?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
And in football, no one gives a shit.
Unless you're the chair of the Spanish FA, I think he gives a shit, but there you go.
Oh, God. Honestly, even you try to think of culturally, is there even any excuse culturally for what he did there?
Yeah. Well, he was grabbing his cock all the way through the game, by all accounts. People are offended and furious. I just think, what an arse. What a complete arse. And the upside of it is, I always try to look for upsides. The upside of it is, see that sort of publicity that Spain's got from that now, and their culture has got. Great. They needed it. They needed batter into them, like a bus. And it has battered. So, for all the fact that we talk about, it's so annoying, it's horrible. Hermosa's not lost her job. She's going to be absolutely fine. He'll be out in his ear soon enough.
And as a society has realised it needs to change, and that's a good thing.
Right, well, on that note, I think we've covered everything there, haven't we? I think we've gone from Donald Trump coming out in football. We even mentioned the fall at one point, I think.
No, it's weird. I mean, do you know what I didn't want to do? I didn't want to come on your show and show off my full credentials, right? You know, there is that goes on, isn't there? That people go, oh yeah, I've this.
None of the guests we've had on have ever done that, Pat. No, they've all been good as gold.
Good, but I find a lot a bit of that kind of, and it's almost an inverted snobbery thing. No, if you just like a band, you like a band, and I absolutely adored and loved the band for a long, long time, and still go back all the time. But you just, and I won't lie to you, I don't own every single album, right?
Neither do I.
Exactly. But isn't that a good thing? Because there's another one to get at some point, and that's good.
Yeah, of course. You're never finished.
Exactly.
Well, on that point, I think we should finish.
Thanks very much for having us on.
That was brilliant. Great to speak to you.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Oh Brother. Episodes released every 2 weeks, so keep an eye out for episode 2 coming soon. You can find us on Spotify and Apple and all usual suspects, and we're hosted at shows.acast.com/oh-brother. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram @OhBrotherShow to keep up with all the latest news about the show. And don't forget to like or give us a rating on your favourite platform. You can even tell your friends about us if you like. And remember, if you're driving, take your car. Ta-da.